name's Ralph and welcome back to the channel. It's my time, let's go. So today I've been trying to clean up on a bunch of things and I just thought I'd give a little explanation for what's going on. I'm hoping to get the basket case up on the stand so we can all have a good look at it. And there's been a lot of controversy about it. You know, basket case comes in baskets. I've seen various different things over the years referred to as a basket case, and I think this thing certainly falls into that category. And when you have a little closer look, you'll see that it's not just a running bike with the tanks off, as somebody said. In any case, I'm hoping to get at it and tear some things apart and see what I'm into. I've also got a customer's bike here that's tying me up, and I'm trying to get that done. And I've got a little 89-inch motor that I got. We thought it was 96, but upon taking it apart, realized that it's really an 89 kit. So it's still got 3.5-inch barrels on it, but they're a little snorting little rig with a 3 5/8 stroke in them. So I'm looking forward to getting the rest of that apart and starting to build on that.
I'm just working on my my other little fat tire softail project. I'm going to call it Armageddon. So I'm hoping to get at it fairly quickly.
So, and it's summertime. It's summertime, and as we all know, we like to get out, go for a ride. You know, the sun's shining, it's hot in here, and this is the whole idea for me, is to take time for myself and do those sort of things. So I've been out on the trike a lot, and I've been really enjoying riding it around and just the fact of getting out and relaxing. So we're going to get on with things. It's going to be kind of haphazard for a few weeks till I kind of get squared away and get things running in some sort of direction, I guess. Whether I ever do have some sort of direction, I don't know. Also, stick around later in the video and we're going to have a little talk about cam covers. While I'm working in this area, I think that it's appropriate time to maybe shine a little light on this subject. I was watching a little video that Ironhead Sally had actually, and she was working on her Evo motor, and it was pissing out a lot of oil and such, and they were trying to correct things and change the heads and stuff. And when I viewed the video, I was able to identify an obvious difference in this, and was able to help her out with her problem. So I think this is something I'd like to pass on to everybody, because I see these kind of problems happen quite often, and maybe with a little bit of tips about what's what, might save some other people some aggravation as we move along. So stick around for that later on in the video. For all of you that are new to the channel, please subscribe, like, comment. I enjoy all that from everyone. I love hearing all the comments and from people around the world. I've had guys from Thailand, and I've got guys from England and Hungary, all over the place. I've also had a lot of people that have been very helpful and you know, looked at my project and say, hey, I might have something that you need. I got a fellow named Todd. He's sending me up an oil tank. Thank you very much, Todd. Appreciate it very much. Also Kevin. Kevin and I talked back and forth with some head problems and stuff that he was having, and I was just trying to pass on anything I knew that I thought could possibly help him out. In the end, he's donated some stuff to one of my projects too, so thank you very much, Kevin, and I'm glad to hear you're going to put the S&S heads on it after all and be done with it all. And Alex, here's one for you, Alex. Had a gentleman contact me because I've done some work with Jerry Murch on one of his bikes, and I was impressed with the 120 in it, and I had a gentleman contact me and sent me some pictures of his on the front cover of a magazine, and we yacked a bit back and forth about Jerry. So it's ever so interesting when I get to talk to people from all over the place. As I always say, I'm not the expert. I'm just passing on what I'm doing. Sometimes it's right, hopefully most of the time. But I just keep going along and doing what I can do. Last but not least, big shout out to my brothers down south, Hippie's Chopper Corner, and my good friend Slick at Slickhead's Custom Cycles. Check both those guys out. Hippie's always got something exciting on the go. Slick's got some beautiful bikes down there, and he's taking you out on some of the runs and the swap meets and things like that, which I find very interesting to see all the time. So be sure and check them out. And check out my buddy Gus at This Old Chopper. Gus is pushing up near 1,000 subscribers, so take your time, hit that subscribe button for him. Help him get up there. It's a long battle for all of us, and we all need everyone's help out there to get us through the gate, so to speak. So stick with us. We're going to have a lot of interesting things coming up this year, and if you're into the mechanics and fixing things and getting your hands dirty, it's my time. Let's go. So today I've been working on the 81, and yesterday, as you've seen, we were starting to assemble things and get things back together. Later on in the day, I started assembling the oil pump and getting it into place. And when I did, I ran into a small problem that I thought I'd like to point out to a lot of people. Having your oil pump running free is a huge issue. and something that's often missed by a lot of people. It's very important that you pull all the pinion gears and stuff off and check that oil pump. So when I started to install mine, everything seemed to be fine. As I started to tighten down the oil pump, all of a sudden there was a lot of drag, and when I torqued it to specs, I could hardly move it. Now, the engine will make it turn over because it's geared into the pinion shaft with the little drive gear, and you can force it like that, but what can happen in the end is you can shear a key off in the oil pump, and then it either won't return or won't pump oil, and you can run into a big problem. Without checking this before you assemble your motor, it can cause problems. I see a lot of guys just change an oil pump and they'll fire it on there, bolt it all up, away you go. And down the road, sure enough, it'll shear a key off. So come along with me, and I'll show you what happened, and I'm gonna show you how we're gonna try and fix it up. Hopefully that I'm gonna find it and take a few measurements. I've got an idea what might be the problem, but I'm not sure. So let's get at it. So we put our little Jim's tool on here. This is tightened the other way. Unfortunately, we have to pull these off. It's the only way we can make sure that the oil pump is free. Just that little bit more. There's also a key in here. Now we'll pull these out, and this way we can turn this gear. So as we snug the pump up, we can make sure that our gear is turning smoothly. So now when we're assembling our oil pump, your double keys on there on the outside, and your single key goes through there. But if you put all this on and you try to jam your oil pump on and put that shaft in, there's a good chance that you can cut that seal. So the shaft has to go in this way so that there's no resistance. Okay, now we've got our gear in here with the key, and we're going to put our other one in. And now we'll slide it through the shaft in the hole. There we go. And we'll just stick a screw in here. Little key in this shaft, so we need to back it up, get our gear in there. Not just enough room to get the gear in. can slide it through. Once we slide it through, we can see where the key goes in it. Roll the gear around so you can find the spot where the key slides in it. Here we go. And then we just want to move it enough that we can put our little C-clip on it. Nothing is going easy for me today. And now we'll try to get our little C-clip in there. Here we go. Now we've got to try and get our little key into the gear out here. And now we'll try to hold the key in place while we put our gear on. And that can be a trick. There. Push down on the back side. And there we go. It's in there. Okay, then we want to keep this loose. These two. There we go, so we can move the pump. All right, I know this one goes in the rear. Okay, just want these loose. We need to be able to spin this gear in here freely. So when you think you've got it pretty close, you start snugging these bolts up. I'm just going to back those off at a little touch. So that everything wiggles back and forth. Now, what we're trying to do is get it so that the oil pump rotates nice and easy. There's a free spot everywhere. So this is what we're talking about here, is this drive gear. And as you can see, I can roll it very easily there with my fingers, and that's the way it should be. But as I start to tighten up the oil pump, we'll just take a couple turns on them. You start to get drag on it. And as you can see, I cannot move that. Now, when these are all loose, I move the pump body back and forth to try and get the position where the pump is at rest and does not cause the binding. But as you can see, something is causing it. And I'm not near down to torque values yet, so we're going to have to see what we can do. So we'll loosen it off. We're making sure that these top ones are loose up here, which they are. Yeah. Let's take her off a little more. Now, as you can see, I can wiggle the pump back and forth. And you're trying to find a spot where it will turn, no problem at all. There we are. We're nice and free there. Now I'm slowly going to put a little pressure on. And I'm still free. So far, so good. And when I start to tighten this bottom one up, it starts to bind up. Now I can tighten the other ones. There we go. And we've got a bind. So what we're going to have to do is take it apart, measure how far our gears are sticking out above the face, which they shouldn't be, but possibly they are. And it can be something as small as a pinch gasket, not in the right place. But we have to do something about that because we can't leave it like that. So I'm going to tear the pump off and let's see what we can find. And just as a note, I could push this little shaft back and forth on the very end here. It's hard to see. But as you can see there, it will move back and forth. So I know it's not binding up on the end. And I don't see any sign of anything cutting or pinching anything there. But we will put a new gasket set in. There we go. Pull our gears out. Then face up again. And we'll just work the pump off of it. Let me get these top ones out. Might be a little bit of the gasket over the edge a tiny bit, because I can see it's over this way. But we're going to take these out. Again, make sure they go in the right way. Touch the little one there. I don't see any marks. But if I go on the edge of this, just with a pick, I can see that it's clear there, but I can actually pick at that tiny bit, so it looks like the gasket may be hanging over. But I'm going to take some measurements and put my gears in there and measure across the tops of the flats and just try and determine if the gears are sticking up too much or if they're down in there like they should be. So we'll start by looking at these gears, and I put a good straight edge across, and I can put a 3 thou under this side, and I can get an 8 thou under this side. So that gear is sticking up there on that. And on the other side, here's our 3. I can just get a 3 on that side. Let's try 7. I can get a 7 in there on that. 8. So not quite an 8, but I can get 7 thou in there. You can see here again, just by putting this on here, how you can rock that over top of the gears. It's almost hard down on the left side, but that gear is sticking up that much. This side is hard down on the pump body, and this side is sticking way up. And if we look in there on this one, we can actually see some small score marks in there. The gear has been pressed tight. You can see it at the bottom of the hole in this area down here. So obviously it's a problem. Ching ching! Time for new oil pump. It's always something, and it's those small things that can make a difference. But by checking to see that that gear isn't binding, that will tell you whether there's something wrong with the pump body. I've actually mic'd out all my gears, and I've checked the height of all the gears like this, so they're all right. So it's definitely a problem with the body. And when I tighten it down, that's sticking up that far, and we got a problem. So that whole pump body is out. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to get a new pump. But sometimes it's the small things like that that can make the difference. So we're kind of at a standstill here till I get a new pump come in, and that should fix our problem. All right. So while we're here, we're going to have a look at the cam covers. Now this early cam cover actually is off my knuckle, and they fit from 1937 to 1969, right up through those years. And to be able to identify those different covers, you can identify them by the front of them, by the amount of fins on them, or if they're a smooth surface. So I made this up here, kind of. So 1937 to 39 has smooth covers, 40 to 47 has 8 fins, 48 to 53, 8 fin, 48 to 53, 4 fins, and 54 to 62 also made a 4 fin. So 63 to 69 and 66 to 69, the panheads and early shovels, a lot of them had smooth covers on the outside of them. And the gasket for those fits from 1941 right up to 1969. And now we'll look at some of these differences that we have here. 25218-70. So this is your early 70s cover, and it differentiates from the other ones in quite a bit, as it just has one big oil hole right here. This one here is the threaded screw hole, and this has one big oil hole here. And it takes a different gasket. If we put this 73 and later gasket on it, you can see there is still an oil hole here, and you could use it, But if you had a 1972 gasket, it would not have this hole here, and therefore it would block it off on your other cover. So the 1972 gaskets are very specific, as is the 1972 cover specific to the early 70 to 72 cases. So something to be careful for, and look for that part number in there, or just one big single hole here. Then we get into the 1973 and up to 1992, and as you see, this one has a big spout on it, as does the other Shovelhead one, and that designates a different kind of oiling system. And there it takes this kind of gasket. As you can see, it goes along with this raised piece up in here. So it is again different. The 70 to 72 are different than this one from 73 up to 1992. Once we get up into the Evos and the 93, you can see that it's different again. Now the spout has been eliminated, and our raised area is no longer there, and this is open to the oiling system there, which is totally different. So that's the 93 and up type. Just as one final note and something to remember, 1936 to 69, and I believe up to 75, but 74, 75, but I'm not quite sure. If you know out there, let me know. Took a special thread. They were 1/4 inch by 24 threads per inch. Standard threads are 1/4 by 20 threads per inch. So all the cam covers and the lifter block screws were all this special thread. Working with the early motors, and you go to put these screws in, and you got 1/4 by 20s, they'll start in there, they'll actually go in a couple threads, and then you'll go, oh, those are tight going in there. What's actually happening is it's stripping it the farther it gets in. So be very careful with those early years that you have the proper screw threads to put in there. Now when looking inside the breather holes, you see in the 92 and up, there's virtually no other holes in that breather cavity. No holes whatsoever. Another notable feature is that down in here in this cavity area, there's no tube sticking out. So that designates, you know, it's a 92 and up head breather case. This is an early 1972 type of case, and the 70 to 72s were a different animal in themselves. And there's no hole here on the front, as you'll see in the other ones when we get to it, but there is a hole back in the back side. Here you can see with the 77 and up cases, the late 77, there's an oil hole here that goes through to your oil pump to push return back through here. There's another groove in the bottom down here, which is part of the external chain oiler system, or primary oiling system, if your primary case is hooked up through the system. And there's another one back in here. This one actually goes down into this area. This hole back here is connected down in here. This tube goes back into the crankcase. So if this cavity fills up and stuff, that tube will suck it back into the crankcase, as I understand it. And excess oil here will be pumped down through that little groove there into this hole and fill up this little cavity. In any case, those are some of the inherent differences that you see in them. The faces here is another way to identify your pumps. As you can see, the hole pattern is different, and the 81 and laters have a hole up here in the top. And like I say, these 70 cases are unique, 72 cases are unique to themselves. So S&S has a wonderful bunch of pictures here that can show you the different sorts of pump configurations, or where the pump bolts onto your cases, which makes it easy to helpful to identify them by looking at the case, exactly which type of pump is needed. So we got some of our breather gears here, and I hope this will help you understand a little bit more about the difference in them. This was the early gears, and these were for like the early knuckleheads, 36 to 47, which like mine is. And it has the outside washer built right in on it. In 1948 to early 77, they used this type of gear, and there's no markings on the face. The face is smooth. From late 1977 up to 99, there was this kind of gear, and it has an obvious circle cut into the gear, and that designates that it's for those upper years. And of course it was our favorite plastic gears, which they used in a lot of the Evos, and I try to get rid of whenever I can. So corresponding with these gears, there's of course pinion gears, and this is a typical pinion gear, big fat one, from 1939 to 53. Now the earlier ones were splined inside to fit the pinion shaft, which was also splined. In 54 to 77, they look the same, but this splined hole now becomes a tapered hole. And from late 1977 to 99, they all use this kind of pinion gear here. And they come in various different colors to be able to size it with your camshaft. Now when you're mix and matching and you're using any of these, you know, of the three basics, the early, the mid, and the late, we need to make sure that your pinion gears are matched to the set. Your pinion gears and your oil pump drive gear, and there's a little spacer in there. And so when you're searching for your breather kits, you can easily look and see what years fit what years, and that'll give you a good understanding. So those things all have to be matched to the years to make sure they're right. If you don't do that and you put them in, they won't work proper and they grind themselves up possibly. Now each one of these will have to be spaced with a small washer that goes on here, on the surface here, and that will be spaced out in your timing cover so that it doesn't get crushed out. The very earlier ones up to 47 actually had the spacer built right in on them. Now one of the newer sort of innovations to come out of things is what S&S calls this reed valve. And this actually has little reeds, they call them, that will work in and out with the pressures. I guess, you know, that direct the pressures. They don't actually work a whole lot in and out, I don't think. I'm not quite sure. But they go in instead of this. As you can see here on the end, they no longer have the gear teeth. So they just sit in the cavity and they breathe in and out through this system. Now, there's just a small spring that goes on the end of this to set your end play spacing, and that's it. You know, these are for 93 and up, 92, 93 and up. And they're not for the earlier engines, although some people say they have run them in the Shovelheads and not had problems. Other people's run them in the Shovels and do have problems. But S&S themselves say it's designed for 93 and up overhead breather style engines. So it's a great innovation. If your hole has not been cut right out, so to speak, and it gets worn around in there, this will allow the oil to continually do what it's supposed to do in there and not have to worry about that spinning. So, great little unit. I'm going to put this in my 89 build and see how it works. As you can see here, my Evo cases for the 89 has a little bit of scoring around here, but it hasn't actually cut a deep groove around. And the theory is that this will go right in there like that, and that should solve our problem. As I say, it's just a little spring goes on the end of this to set your end spacing. So, quite an innovation, and I'm hoping that it works well for it. So when we have these, one of the obvious things is this spout. This shows you that it's pre-92, 92, 93. It's an earlier one, and this one doesn't have it. This is the 92 and up, 93 cover, and as you can see, it's wide open here. If you try to put this cover on this motor, there will be oil everywhere, and vice versa, things won't work right. The obvious difference is in the gaskets. And when this gasket goes on, we can see how it covers this area here. A 92 and up gasket is like that. And as you can see, it's wide open there. So if you put this gasket on this cover, which it will fit and go in your case and bolt up and all that, and your oil hole will be in the right place, but this is wide open now. So what will happen is your crankcase will quickly fill up with oil and then push it out the breather tube. So I can't begin to tell you how many times that I've seen these gaskets get mixed up and they go on and nobody knows. Even if you use the proper cam cover on a 73 or you know, I mean on the 73 and up type covers, if you use the proper cover and you put this gasket on, it will create problems. And quite often I see that done, or as I said, putting the 92 and up cover on an earlier motor, or vice versa. They can't be swapped away. I've seen somebody in the past week and I was able to mention it to them and help them out. There, Ironhead Sally down there, and her motor was puking oil out after they rebuilt it, and they had actually a little catch can and stuff, and you really shouldn't have to have that on a Harley. It shouldn't be puking at the hose, but it was. I watched her video and I watched her and her husband there quite a lot to see what they're doing and such, and it just happened that they flashed the cover up And as soon as I seen the cover, I knew what the problem was. So I thought I'd put out this little note to everybody for what to look for, because as I say, in all the years I've been here, I've seen it happen over and over and over and over. A lot of times, bring your bike in, say I've rebuilt it, blah, blah, blah. It's puking oil out, can't get it to stop. Pull the cam cover off. Sure enough, it's a 92 and up gasket. So I hope that helps some of you out. It's just a little condensed sort of form on cam covers and what they are and why. Now let's get on with the other things. So if you enjoyed this video today, like, subscribe, comment, hit the ring the bell, do those sort of things. It helps our channel to grow. Also be sure and check out my buddy Hippie down at Hippie's Chopper Corner, and Slick at Slickhead's Custom Cycles down there. Both have a lot of entertaining stuff on the go, and I'm sure you'll enjoy them. And Gus at This Old Chopper for sure. All right, stick around for next week. We're going to hopefully get the 81 buttoned up and good to go. And I'm getting excited about starting on the basket case project. See you then.